Tell me everybody with a tube light doesn't want to try this.
Ta-da!
A couple of months. Seems like an age ago now. But that's how long ago it was since I last went to a trade show. And I like going to trade shows because it gives you a chance to see what are the trendy pieces of kit that everybody's buying. And this year you couldn't fail but notice tube lights. They were everywhere. And strangely, I found myself wanting to buy one, even though I have no use for one. That often happens when I go to trade shows, much to the annoyance of the fun prevention officer. So here it is, arguably the brightest one you can buy, the AltaTube from Ledgo. They make it in 3 lengths, 6 foot, 4 foot, and this one which is 2 feet. Obviously the 6 foot and the 4 foot are even brighter, but I like the portability and lighter weight of the 2 foot version, which is plenty bright enough for me. Because even this one is a massive 80 watts of power when everything's turned up to the max. What I also like about this tube is it's got a bit more girth. It's T14 instead of T12, which means it's a bit thicker. It's also chunky and a lot more solid than I was expecting. Far less fragile than you'd think a tube would be. It comes in a really nice soft bag that looks like it could also carry a second tube or maybe even a stand. There's a transparent clip for mounting it on that stand and a mains unit with a neat little hanging bag. You can run this light off a battery, but because it's a super bright 80 watts, you're going to need a very chunky 26 volt battery, which I don't have, so I treat it as a mains light. The controls are very straightforward, and the useful display means you never really need to look at boring things like manuals. There's 2 dials on the end for going through the menus and adjusting the values. And there's also a DMX connection, which could be useful in a studio setup or if you have a few of these linked together. So is this just a trendy toy, or is it actually a useful mains light? Well, let's look at the light quality first. Now obviously I booked a beautiful model in order to test the skin tones. But what with social distancing and everything, you're going to have to make do with my face. And the only thing lighting my face at the moment is this one 2 foot tube. And I must say, I've been really impressed with the soft quality of the light. What I hadn't really considered is the extra flexibility you get with a tube in being able to position a soft source. For instance, you can dim it quite low and yet have it close to your subject. And because of the length of the tube, it has the effect of mimicking a much larger source. So the light wraps around your face in a very pleasing way. The colour accuracy is also very pleasing. In standard colour temperature mode, the AltaTube will go from 2700 to 7500 degrees Kelvin. And when I compared the colour to my benchmark interview lights, they were an almost perfect match. The TLCI specifications put these AltaTubes in the high 90s for both tungsten and daylight colours. And I found the colour on skin tones to be really pleasing, especially at 3200 Kelvin. If I was looking for something to complain about, I do wish the light had a plus or minus green function to compensate for different camera sensors, but I am starting to nitpick a bit now. So as well as the standard colour temperature mode, you've also got HSI, which is hue, saturation and intensity. This is great for using the light to add colour to any background, which you might have noticed on my last few videos. And the rich deep colour you can dial in at these levels of brightness is amazing. 360 degrees of hue, percentage of saturation and dimming are all controllable really subtly, which even makes this light easy to use in the back of shot as a practical. And if I told you that the background you're looking at right now is being keyed onto a white wall just with the pure green from one single AltaTube, I think that's pretty impressive. It's like you've got a green screen with you all the time. The third mode you can operate the light in is gel mode. Here you can dial in the gel colour to go over the top of either a 3200 tungsten or 5600 daylight tube. All of the standard gels are listed, and it might be useful if you're matching other lights. Finally, there's the effects mode, which we've started to see on quite a few RGB lights. There's the police car, candlelight, flash, SOS, storm and colour cycle. All good fun, but I'm not sure how much I'll use them. However, there are a couple of things you should know about. Firstly, this light does have a fan in it, but you can turn it off. You might be able to hear boost mode, which does give you the full 80 watts of brightness. Then normal mode, bit quieter, but only 40 watts. And then completely silent mode, which is about 25 watts. Now, everything I've shown you so far has been shot with silent mode, because boost mode is just mad bright. The other thing, a minor irritant really, is that the controls and the display for this light are actually on the lit side of the tube, which means when you're trying to adjust anything, you're often blinded by the light. It might have been an idea to rotate this to the other side, the unlit side. But then I am nitpicking again, because if I was to sum this light up with just one word, that word would be versatility. I find this light so useful, not just as a soft source, but also for getting into tight spaces, for using it as a practical in the back of shot, even using it instead of a green screen. And I find the more I use this light, the more I figure out different ways of using the light, which is great. When I first saw these trendy tubes at the show, I found I wanted one without really having a use for it. Now I know what it'll do, I find I don't want to do without it. Thanks for watching.